Are you the type of person who finds yourself helping people all the time, even when they haven't asked for your help? And are you also the type of person who finds that this helping is more or less a point of frustration for you, more so than it is rewarding? If so, stay tuned because that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about the helping instinct and how it can be very detrimental actually to us. It can also be detrimental to the people that we're trying to help, of course. But that's sort of almost another podcast for another time. But I'll probably talk about both. I'm not sure. I never plan these things. So I'm talking about this because this is the situation I'm in at the moment, where I have found myself like playing the role of mother hen essentially with a number of my friends, and I'm just sort of realizing this like basically, well, today I basically just sort of had the duh moment. Oprah calls it an aha moment, and I call it a duh moment. where, where I realize what it is that I'm doing and why I need to stop immediately, because I've been here before. I've been here many times before. Not only that, I've watched other people, especially my mother, do the same thing and then sworn I would never do that. And yet here I am. I find myself overextending my resources, my time, my energy, my efforts. I'm devoting my large portions of my energy to and you know, like to trying to help people who haven't asked for help, number one, and number two, really probably would be better off if I only offered a fraction of the help that I have been providing, and then steered them gently through the process of continuing to help themselves should they choose to do so, which they never do, by the way. Well, maybe not never, but it's infrequent, because if you don't because if someone hasn't asked for the help in the first place, then you can probably guarantee that when you say, hey, I can help you out by doing X, Y, and Z, that they're going to go, okay, great, that would be awesome, thanks. But they don't have a clue, and they don't know why what it is that you're suggesting that you're going to do for them would even be helpful, let alone how they would do it themselves. Obviously, it's never occurred to them to take whatever help it is that you're offering, and so the chance that you sort of starting off the process for them is going to cause them to go, oh yeah, oh yeah, right, this is good, yeah, great, okay, yeah, I can take it from here. No, I don't think that ever happens. I would love to know if that's ever happened. If I'd love to know if anyone has experienced that, where they have offered someone help that they haven't asked for, and that person has ultimately been so pleased with whatever the help was that they then incorporated it into their own life and rolled with it and started being autonomous and with it. I just don't think that happens, because the reality is that even when we ask for advice, we don't often take it. And if we don't ask for help or advice, then you've got to assume, as the person who's giving the advice or offering the help, you've just got to assume that the person that is on the receiving end of it doesn't have the mindset to be able to benefit from it the way that you're hoping that they'll be able to benefit from it. And taking over someone's life or a portion of someone's life, or taking over a certain task for them, or or whatever it might be, that's all well and good, but they have to learn to do it for themselves. And whilst you're doing it for them, they're not learning to do it for themselves. So the example I'll use as a sort of what's the word? I'll use an example that's not help related to try and sort of cement what I'm saying here, which is like with Google Maps, right? So back in the day, we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have mobile phones at all. I mean, I got my first mobile phone in about 1994, I think, but now, and it was analog and yeah. So anyway, smartphones obviously are a fairly new thing. Apologies if you're watching this and you were born and you're a millennial. But for people like me, smartphones, they haven't always been around. And although there were things like TomTom navigational systems that were in cars before smartphones, it wasn't that long before smartphones. And you had to have a pretty fancy car if it came with the GPS already in it, and or you had to go and buy one. Basically what we did was have a physical street, have a street map book, and which was an awful thing to have to use to navigate somewhere when you didn't know where you were going, by the way. I wish actually that I had some video of myself driving along, trying to find my way somewhere using the street map book, because it would have been borderline hilarious / extremely upsetting. Just sad, because, so first of all, I am very bad with left and right. That's a bad start. Secondly, when I'm looking at a map, I need literally to be for my car to be pointing in the direction that the road is in order for me to be able to read the map. So how it would go would be, I would be attempting to drive a manual. I've always driven a manual car, by the way, which just makes it a little bit more tricky. I would be attempting to drive with the street book map opened to the relevant page, but on my steering wheel, and then having to rotate it every time the road rotated or I made a turn, so that I wouldn't lose track of where I was on the map. And then of course you would get to a certain part of the map, and then the map would finish and it would say go to page blah 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 blah. And you're trying to do all of this whilst actually driving. It was very dangerous, and honestly, just not a good idea. After a while, what I started doing was, if I was going somewhere that I'd never been before, I would get the map out before I was going there, and I would write out directions for myself. That usually worked okay. But, it can be quite tricky, when you're driving along, street signs just have a magical way of being bent over, washed out, or non-existent, don't they? And so, and so it's really, even that was not great, but it was better than trying to do it just from the map, live, in real time as I was driving. Anyway, but so Google Maps, the thing about Google Maps that I've found is that if I use Google Maps to navigate to, say, a friend's house, the next time I go to drive to my friend's house, I need to use Google Maps again. And if I try and just find my own way there, I'll get lost. Not lost, but I won't know where to turn. I won't have remembered the turns to take because I wasn't paying attention to the route. I was just waiting for Google Maps to tell me to turn left or whatever, you know. So in the same way as you don't learn that you don't learn to navigate to a place if you always use Google Maps, or if you start off by using like a navigational tool like Google Maps. Helping someone with something that is unfamiliar to them, or that is that they have been struggling with to the extent that they have essentially stopped even trying, is likely to result in them becoming dependent on you to do it for them, over them actually picking up where you left off and moving forward with it. And so that's why I say that helping, unfortunately, can often be to the detriment of both parties, and should be really very carefully considered, I think. And you need to watch yourself. If you're anything like me, I will help everybody, right? And drain all of my financial resources. Like I'll have someone permanently living on my couch. I'll be spending all my time trying to help people with things like literally leave no stone unturned. And I don't think I have ever found that ultimately, that years later I've been able to look back and see and think, yeah, I really helped that person out and that was really good. Yeah. Almost always, certainly I can't off the top of my head, I can't think of an example when it's worked out like that. It has always worked out the opposite way, which is where I have just been left exhausted, drained, broke, and sometimes a little bit resentful of the person that I was helping. Not usually, because I do believe, and I have for a long time, had this philosophy, and I think if you don't, you should really consider what I'm about to say. That if you offer to help someone, or if you do a favor for someone, look, even if they ask for it, even if it's something that they do ask of you, it doesn't mean that they owe you anything. Unless you specifically say, yeah, I'll drive you there. I'll drive you wherever, but in exchange, I'm expecting that you're going to give me fuel money, or, yeah, okay, I'll help you move house as long as you help me move house next time I need to move. But people very, very rarely have the sort of forethought, or I guess I think it's almost self-awareness to know that for them, help is not free. Help is not unconditional. Unconditional help is a very difficult thing, actually, to give people. And that's not because we're all so greedy and we and it's not a statement about the nature of our relationships. And like, people like to say, oh, that person was such a user, like they just used me. It's like, well, but you invited them in to your life and told them that you could do all this stuff for them, and then you tried to do all this stuff for them and stuff, and now you're just upset with them because ultimately the help that you gave them or offered them, or whatever you gave them, just that it didn't work out. That's really not their fault. It's really not their fault. Especially if they didn't ask for it. So anyway, I guess I'm making this video because, like, I have found myself recently, and I just realized today, because I was journaling, and I was just trying to clean my house and stuff, and I'm always trying to clean my house. So I say trying like it's a difficult thing, but it's not difficult. I just don't like doing it. So I put it off, and then it gets bad, and then I do just enough so that it's not awful, and then I just proceed, and then I just keep going. Anyway, yeah, but like, so I just, for some reason today, like, just had this moment where I was like, oh, that's what I've been doing. I think Oprah would call it an aha moment. Yeah, I call it a ugh moment because it's sort of like when because it's a mistake I've made in the past, and any time you repeat a mistake that you've made in the past that you think you've learnt from and moved on, and next time you won't do that again, and you do it again, you always feel a little bit like, oh God, really, come on. At least that's how I feel. I mean, I don't beat myself up for it or anything, and neither should you, but like, but yeah, it's always more like difficult to sit with the mistake that we make when it's a repeat of a previous mistake, because we like to think that we learn from our mistakes, right? And and in theory we do, to an extent, but the problem, of course, is that things, concepts like learning from mistakes and these are thoughts that we have. This is like, I mean, if you take the model of like the mistake that we're going to learn from, right? So you make the mistake, something happens that ultimately doesn't serve you well enough, that you realize that you've made a mistake. And then you spend the time actually looking back on what you did, how it started, what triggered it perhaps, why, and you come up with a full narrative for how it happened, why you did it, what you should have done differently, all that stuff. And at the end of it, like, because you've got this narrative of like the mistake I made and why I'll never do it again, you think that that's enough, that you won't do it again. But of course, when you're talking about things like helping people, I mean, this is an instinct that you can't just switch it off. I will never be able to switch off the instinct, nor would I want to, I should say. I mean, just for the record, I would not want to switch off the instinct that I have to help people. I would like to learn how to handle my instincts and better, so that I can make sure that when I do help people, it is, first of all, actually something that is going to be of help to them. And secondly, that it is not to my own detriment that I'm doing, the help that I'm giving is not, harming me in some way. So what do you do? What do you do, right? Like, historically, what I've always done is when I've gotten to a point where I've realized that, I'm trying so hard to help someone and they're, and it's not working and they're not budging and they're not helping themselves and whatever. I've just essentially just wished them good luck and moved on with my life. And then thought, oh, God, that was a waste of time and resources. But, I don't think that that's the best way to deal with it. In fact, it's absolutely not the best way to deal with it. Because especially if it's something that's been going on for a while, it's one thing if you just do one thing for a person, or maybe just you just spend three or four occasions in a row, you help someone, I don't know, with set up their, the all of the devices in their house or something, because they're not tech savvy or something. I do that all the time. I'm literally tech support for all of my friends. And I don't mind doing that, by the way. That I actually advertise that fact to my friends, because I don't want them spending money. And I also don't want them having somebody some mate who claims that they know what they're doing, do it when often they don't, and they just I've got a friend who doesn't even know the password for his own he's not even doesn't even have his admin access to his own router, because his mate set it up and put a username and password on there that he didn't even bother to write it on a piece of paper and give it to his mate. So I like to be able to offer my support to people with regards to their technology things, because I'm pretty good with technology. I'm not great, but I'm pretty good. I can do most things. And also, and I know exactly what happens. Look, smartphones break. I know so many people who've had a smartphone that, just one day, one thing stopped working on it and they wound up just getting a new one. And it turned out that just hard resetting it, or even soft resetting the smartphone, fixed the problem. So often a little bit of help can actually be of help, right? Very then there are other things in life, and it's a very, very fine line, I think, when you're trying to help someone, even if they're so at the time thank you so much, I'm so appreciative, I really I don't know what I would do, I'm so thankful, even if they're grateful for the help, you've got to have an exit strategy, and you've got to co-design an exit strategy with them, because you can't burn out and then just leave them high and dry. That's not fair on either of you. So I think what I am going to do, and I think what I'm going to suggest that other people might consider doing, even though I haven't tried it yet, just give some completely untested advice that I just thought of just now. Why not? I think that the approach that perhaps might be best for this in this scenario is that when you are helping someone with something, at a certain point pretty early on in this process, you talk to them about exit strategy, and you don't have to use that terminology. You just talk about like, you know, them, how they can ultimately take over and do this for themselves and move forward with this without your intervention, you know, without needing you there. And make sure that they're up for it, and make sure that they're keen to learn. And then you don't just go and do stuff, you actually drag them along with you and try to make it like an actual demonstration, if you like, of what to do, or what you would do anyway. So that way, when you know, after a period of time, or after hopefully you've helped them to get, to achieve a slight improvement in whatever it is, you can say to them, hey, okay, the time is nigh, you're on your own. Doesn't mean I'm not your friend anymore, but I'm not going to be intervening anymore. You need to go and try this stuff out for yourself, but call me. But, you know, if you have any trouble along the way, if you can't remember something, you don't know what to do, or you're just stuck or whatever, you know, like feel free to call me, and I'm happy to, like, you know, give you aftermarket support, so to speak. But you have to give them the opportunity to do it for themselves. And if they're not interested, or they're not willing, or if it's abundantly clear after a little while that they're just not going to, then you just need to literally wipe your hands of it and walk away and say, oh well, I tried. But I tried, and you know what? I can feel good about the fact that I tried, without having to also feel resentful about the fact that ultimately it didn't work out. Because let's face it, in life it happens all the time. Things don't work out all the time in life. Especially when those things are things that we aren't already sort of skilled at, or that we're not already sort of on, I mean, if you, like, it's sort of like if you have no knowledge whatsoever of a subject matter, and then you're like trying to learn a language or something like that, you can take lessons, or you can just go to the country and hope that you figure it out on your own, and if you persist for long enough, you'll get there. But it probably will take a fairly good amount of time, especially if you're an adult, because it's not that easy to pick up new languages. Well, maybe it's a bit easier if you live in Europe, and so you've grown up with the European language. But to pick up other European languages, that is, of course. But but as an adult, like, our brains are just not that plastic, and until you have, unless you've got someone sitting next to you that you're practicing with every single day, it ain't gonna. It's theory that you learn, or whatever, you can do all the apps in the world. It's probably not going to stick. And in a similar way, helping people with things that they are clearly not capable of doing at the moment. That's the reason why we're helping them. Until they themselves are in a better position, it's probably not going to stick. So I need to talk to my friends. I've got there's primarily two at the moment that I've been trying to help, and I need to talk to them both about my help and the fact that it's not an unlimited forever thing, because what I want is the friendship, right? I don't want to be their mother. I don't want to be their, assistant. I don't want to be their, their personal assistant like that. That's not the role I signed up for. The role I signed up for was the role of friend. And when this stuff takes over to any degree, it detracts from, what you actually did sign up for, which was to be their friend. And also it will also change the way that they see you, and without you wanting it to, or it will change the way that you see them. When they call you, you're just going to look at your phone and go, oh, what do they want now? As opposed to, oh, haven't spoken to them in ages. Or maybe not, haven't spoken to them. Oh, wonder what happened with whatever last week. That's what I think when my best friend calls me. I'm always just quick to answer the phone, because I'm always like, oh, how was your daughter's netball game? Or friendship stuff, as opposed to, oh, what do you want now? Not that I would ever answer the phone like that, by the way, but sometimes like the thought goes through my head before I do answer the phone. If I, and then I have in the past been really, I've done the thing where I've just not answered the phone, because I've had very poor coping strategies for most of my life. And so I would overextend, and then I just didn't understand enough about myself, or enough about what it meant to be an introvert. And I also didn't understand the nature of, I guess, self-care. I didn't understand that I needed to look after myself before I looked after anybody else, and that I needed to make sure that I was as good as I could be before I started offering help to people, because it's very easy to fall into the trap of, especially I think if you have low self-esteem, to help people as a way to make yourself feel good in the moment. But realistically, you're not in a position to really be able to help anybody, because you need to help yourself first. And it's such a horrible thing to say, because help yourself, my God, okay, all right, I'll just go help myself then, will I? It's that's and that's what this podcast is all about. It's such a difficult thing. Looking after ourselves, looking after yourself is the greatest challenge that you will ever have in this lifetime. And if it's not, then your parents must have done a pretty fucking good job, or you've probably got a partner who, I don't know. It's always been difficult for me. Maybe it's not difficult for everyone. I don't know. I'm thinking about it now and I'm thinking, I think I've got a couple of friends and it's not difficult for them. But maybe it is and we just don't talk about that stuff. And we probably should talk about that stuff. I wonder, I might ask my friends, like, is it hard for you to like look after yourself? Like, do you find it difficult to like, to like put yourself first and look after yourself? Because I sure as hell do. I find it difficult. Like I resent the hell out of the fact that I've got to eat and drink water. Like I just think like that is just it's the burden on me. Honestly, like I just like what I have to eat again. I was look. I am single. So, when I cook, I'm cooking for one. And many, many people have echoed back to me that when you're in a situation where you are cooking for one, it is particularly laborious to organize, to cook, to feed yourself. But even before I was single, I used to feel this way. Like, it's not that I don't like food. I mean, I don't, my appetite's not massive, but it's not that I don't like food. It's not that I don't like cooking. I really like cooking. I just hate deciding what to cook. I hate grocery shopping. I hate deciding what to cook. I hate cleaning up afterwards. It's like the whole thing that that has to happen around like just that one instance of feeding myself, which I'm just going to have to do again tomorrow and the next day, the next day, the next day. Like, it just seems like so much work that I'd much rather just like not have to do. I mean, give me a tablet that has 1,600 calories and all the vitamins and nutrients that I need, and I would be very, very happy. Probably not actually, but but I'm serious. Like I really do self-care, like, like things like cooking meals, like keeping my house like nice and clean. And I mean, and look, my house isn't disgusting by any stretch of the imagination. It's just messy, all right? It's just messy. It's not dirty, it's just messy. Things like that have never been easy for me, and I thought that at some point in time it would get easier, right? But it kind of never has. It's now I don't remember a time in my adult life when it has been easy for me. It has always been an uphill struggle, and it's also always been something that I've needed to like remind myself about. I'm not just talking about eating anymore, by the way. I'm talking about just like in general doing things for myself. It's always been something that I've needed to like remind myself to do. Like today, I'm just there like, and I'm doing something to try and help one of my friends, and I'm just thinking to myself, and all of a sudden it just dawns on me, what are you doing? How much time have you devoted? I mean, university's on break at the moment. It's mid-semester break. So I've got some time off. I went on holiday. That was good. But the helping started before I went on holiday, and it's continued now that I'm back. Here I am, like, and I've got like, a month off or something before the craziness of like university semester starts again. And what am I doing with my time? I'm just devoting it all to trying to help people with things that they haven't asked for, that they probably don't even realize the value of, even if I was able to instigate whatever it is that I'm trying to help them with in their life. Yeah, so I don't know. Far out. I feel really depressed now. I mean, I suppose like the bottom line is that we all need to feel like we are needed. And I think often those of us, especially if you're single, um, those of us who don't have a partner or who have a partner but not a partner that's not loving, um, sometimes will substitute helping for actual like connection and affection and a love and affection from what from a partner, from friends, whatever, from family, etc. I think that we'll try and fill up. There's like a almost like a hole in our soul that we will try and fill up with helping people, because we feel like it's kind of the same thing, but it's not the same thing, is it? I mean, realistically, it's not the same thing. Um, my friends, my good, my best friends, they never ask anything from me. They never ask me to do anything except for spend time with them. Um, they're all entirely self-sufficient, you know? I mean, historically, look, we used to occasionally help each other out with small things back, back in the day. But, that was when we were starving university students and, still, figuring shit out. Now that they're all grown, they never ask anything of me. Um, and even when I offer to do things, not that I very rarely do, because I don't usually seem like they need anything, but even if I did offer anything, usually um it would be like, oh no, it's under control, thank you for your offer. Or alternately, it would be like, you know oh yes, please come and help us move house. um we've got, you know, and then you rock up and like literally like they've called everybody that they know to help them move house, because they've got one truck and a very big house and they've got to move a lot. They're moving it all in one day. Um, I had that experience like last year and it was quite funny actually. Um, well, when I say funny, like, no, it was funny because like I was telling my mother, I was talking to my mother right before I went to their house to help them move. And I was joining the game quite late because I'd been at work that day. Anyway, I was talking to my mother and I was saying, "Oh, look, I'm sure it's not going to be that bad because like, okay, so it's a couple and and so although I know the male of the couple to be a bit of a disaster when it comes to these sorts of things, I know her, his wife is very organized. She's very onto it. Like I'm sure we're just gonna be literally just lifting boxes into the back of the truck. Well, I rock up, and I could not have been more wrong if I tried. Like literally, the first thing I did was to unload their fridge and freezer, unload all the fresh produce from the fridge and freezer, into and put all that in boxes. Um, I think the second thing was like, was tackling like their like this really odd room that they had where they had all like their weird sporting equipment that they don't use, and I'm just there going, why do you have three sets of golf clubs? There's only two of you. And when was the last time either of you played golf? No offense. But they had some crazies. They had all sorts of sports equipment, and like in this weird little room like in their house, and like so I mean, and some of it was all loose, and then there was like shot glasses and stuff. Really, really like all this weird random stuff that was still in cabinets and needed to be bought. So I couldn't have been more wrong actually, really. But we they actually did get it done, but or at least they didn't have to rent the truck for another day. Anyway, so what I was saying about that. So yeah, so I offered to help on that occasion, and my offer of help was accepted. And but other than that, I really cannot remember a time in recent history when I have tried to help a friend and they have, when I've offered to help a friend and they have like accepted my help. I have pushed my help on a couple of friends on a couple of occasions because I felt like they were just being stubborn. Maybe that was the wrong thing to do, but it seemed to me like, you're just being a little bit too proud to admit that, you need help. So please let me just do this for you, and just this one time, and then we'll forget about it. We'll forget that it ever happened, but please let me do this for you, kind of thing. And eventually got a, okay, yeah, thank you very much, but that's just like a one-off thing, like that's just like literally like, yeah, like literally just a just doing just a one-off thing, not like a whole project, not like a whole person project, which I've got a couple of at the moment, and I'm exhausted. And here I am studying social work, thinking I'm going to do this for a living, and so I need to figure out, I really do need to learn how to be an effective helper, and I need to learn how to recognize the difference between when I'm actually likely to be of help and the help is like something that is, and I need to learn how to help myself first. I really do. I was doing pretty well for quite a long time, and it's not that I'm doing badly now. I think I'm just exhausted from all of the efforts that I've been putting in trying to help people, and I really haven't been helping myself, and so I'll leave the video there. I think I've rattled on for long enough about me, 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 me. Oh, by the way, did I mention that I no, I don't think I did actually. I know I mentioned that I'm in a 12 step program. So and they're having an event, and it's called NA's Got Talent, and I'm thinking about entering. And I'm thinking about singing the cake cover of I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor. I'm not a very good singer. I mean, like, I'm taking singing lessons at the moment, like, if you watch my channel, as you would know. I'm really not a great singer, but I'm sort of all right. I went to the event last year, and it's not like you actually have, it's not like there's a high standard or anything. I mean, so there were some very talented people actually last year, but there were also some train wrecks. But so I don't think it really matters so long as you have fun or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would be a good thing to do to challenge, like, a good thing to challenge myself, to put myself out there to do it, because although I'm quite comfortable speaking in front of people, I'm not, the idea of like performing in front of people is actually quite terrifying to me. And so I think I need to do it. I need to do it because challenging yourself is always a good idea. And yeah. And hopefully my singing tutor can help me to iron out the sort of I don't know, when I sing, first of all, I find it very hard not to emulate the American accent that the original song is sung with. Maybe that's all right, okay. But I have I'm just look, I think I'm just off key, probably slightly flat. Someone said once. And there's just this tonality in my voice when I listen back to my recordings. I don't think anyone ever really likes hearing their own voice, but like I just sound, I don't know, it just, I just don't like the way it sounds. So the concept of like then going inflicting that on like, I think there was like about 200 people there last year. It's a pretty big event. So the idea of then going and like, doing that in front of like 200 people is pretty kind of terrifying. But I think that, yeah, I think I should do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to look you in. Oh, it's so hard. I can't even, it's very hard with my webcam. It's very hard to actually even see where the actual camera is because it's got a great big black bar thing like that sort of occludes it. But let me look in, right. I am going to place an entry in that. It's not a competition, by the way. It's just an event. And it's just for fun, I'm going to enter. I'm not going to lock in that song, but I think it's a pretty good one. I think it's a good one because it resonates with me personally. The Gloria Gaynor original is just too fast. I like the Cake version because it's slower. So you can enunciate the words better. I feel like it's slightly more impactful. And also I just, I like guitar better than disco as a general rule. But yeah, I'm not, I'm not going to lock in that song, but I am going to enter. Oh God, I just went from being depressed to being scared shitless. Oh well, anyway, hope everyone has a great day. I'm gonna go now and hope sunshine and happiness for everyone. No, but really, seriously, if you are in a situation like I am, where you are expending a lot of your time and energy and resources trying to help people, and and it's causing you to get frustrated and it's not actually seeming to help the other person, step back, like take a step back, don't just stop, don't just block the person on your phone so they can't call you. Let them know that you're just exhausted and you just need to take a break or whatever, like whatever, do however you choose to do it, but don't just like leave them high and dry, because if they're in a shitty situation already and then you go and do a thing like that, well, that's kind of a pretty shitty thing to do to someone, to sort of offer them all this help and then just one day just withdraw it like without notice, and also withdraw the friendship because you're blocking them so they can't even call you as a friend. That's a pretty shitty thing to do. So no, so I am going to talk to both of my friends about the fact that I've been doing too much, and about the fact that I don't want our friendship to become anything that I just want them. They're in my life. I want them as friends. I don't want them as projects. And so we need to co-design an exit strategy. I mean, I'll come up with some better way to say that so that it doesn't sound like it's a psychology thing or whatever, but essentially that's what it is. You need to figure out how exactly you're going to withdraw your help whilst hopefully still allowing them to benefit maximally from what you've already done, and ideally for them to carry it on for themselves of their own volition with their own resources and energy, if that's what they want to do. And if it's not, then that's okay. If it's not, then that's okay. It has to be. It has to be. Otherwise, like you're just hurting yourself. And you're hurting the friendship. Resentments are like one of the biggest, the most weighty burdens to bear, I think, through life, because especially when you can't let go of a resentment, it's just so unhealthy. It's just so unhealthy. Maybe I'll do a whole video on letting go, on surrender, on how to surrender, how to forgive and how to surrender. I think I did touch on that when I did the video about trauma and stuff before, but I don't know. As you can tell, I'm still figuring this. I'm making this shit up as I go along. Totally making it up as I go along. Jordan Peterson, eat your heart out. See you later.